$4,000 gold, $85 silver. Michael Burry is back. Who the heck is Michael Burry, you might be asking? Have you ever heard of the movie The Big Short? If you haven't, you might want to look it up. Michael Burry founded a hedge fund called Scion Asset Management. He was the guy who predicted, when no one else thought it could happen, that the housing market, that the mortgage-backed security market would implode back in 2007, 2008. In a nutshell, Michael Burry is a guy who looks out into the future. He looks around the corner. He tries to see the forest through the trees. And with what he's saying lately, it is painting a picture that is very favorable for the price of silver, for the price of gold. We're going to dig into it all right now. Michael Burry is somebody who everybody in the financial world pays attention to. And since you're a somebody and I'm a somebody, we're going to pay attention to him. He's a private investor now, but a very wealthy man. He occasionally tweets, but he tweets and then he deletes. But recently he tweeted this, and I'm going to quote. He said, "The United States of America is in a recession by any definition." Now, what's he talking about? I mean, in Q1 and Q2 of this year, let's remember, we did have negative GDP growth, but in the third quarter, somehow, right around the time of those midterm elections, I'm sure that had nothing to do with it, the GDP suddenly grew by 3%. But what we're hearing now regarding the fourth quarter that just wrapped up is that things don't look too good. You and I know we go to the grocery store, don't we? What do you experience at the grocery store? How about when you go to fill your car up? It's still not too cheap. What about if you try to buy a house? Things are tough out there in the economy. So it looks like Michael may very well be right about his recession call. And that's only component number one of the two components that are setting up this ideal environment for the price of gold and silver. Did you know Jerome Powell watches Ron's Basement videos? That's just great. But what's even more important to me is that you have decided to join me right now from wherever in the world you are. There's only one you, and you really are special. So am I, and we're together right now. If you get some value from the video, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, share it on social media. Anything you can do to help would be greatly appreciated. Now let's get back to talking about Michael Burry. Because when they realize we're in a recession, Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, they'll need to pivot, and that will be rocket fuel for the price of gold and silver. I was thinking about Jerome the other day. He's not very good at predicting the economy. It's like if he was a weatherman, he'd be standing out in a rainstorm reporting saying, "I think I predict it will rain." I mean, remember just a year and a half ago, he was saying inflation is transitory and we won't need to raise rates until sometime in 2023. This guy gets it wrong every time. It's almost like this bear behind me could do a better job of predicting the economy than Jerome Powell. Jerome, he's good at looking at what's right in front of him, but he doesn't realize there's things out in the future, and things that are happening now will impact what goes on in the future. Now, sure, he realizes that. I spoke a little strongly, but when this economy comes, I don't want to use the word crashing, but I'll use the word crashing, tumbling down, they will need to pivot. That will be a good environment for gold and silver. But there's even more that Michael Burry said, which was that the Federal Reserve will need to cut rates next year. The government will need to stimulate the economy, and that will bring on another wave of inflation. Now look at that within the context of what we talked about earlier. We're having a big recession, and we're going to be having inflation. That is stagflation. Stagflation. Memorize that word. You love that word if you are a precious metals investor, because stagflation is the most fertile ground for precious metals. Do a little study of what happened in the 70s and 80s, and possibly that's what's happening right now. The herd, right? The rest of the people are starting to wake up and realize that we are heading towards a recession, we still have inflation. And when they look around at the horizon, we tried to point it out to them years ago, right? But now they're starting to wake up and realize that, oh, there's not a lot of attractive investment options. But over there in the corner, long ignored, the people in the basement in places like St. Louis, there's gold, there's silver, there's platinum, there's palladium, there's these metals that have traditionally done very well in that type of environment. It's like going to a restaurant and all the items are removed from the menu and the only thing good left on that menu is gold, silver, platinum, palladium. So in conclusion, it's real simple. Michael Burry sees a recession, actually right now, but definitely coming in the future. So we have recession. He also sees another wave of inflation that creates stagflation, that creates higher gold and silver prices. One more interesting thing to mention about Mr. Burry. In the second quarter of 2022, he sold almost all of his stocks because he thought the market was going to tank during the second half of 2022. Look, he doesn't have a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. But his decision to do that was very, very well timed and shows that he does have the ability to look out into the future and see things that are likely, very likely to occur. Remember, he's the guy from The Big Short. He predicted the downfall of the real estate market and everything else in 2007, 2008. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm glad you're here in Ron's Basement. You're always welcome here. And until next time, you, yes, you are special. You be well.